and welcome to BFI South Bank and tonight's introduced screening of Pakeezah. I'm now delighted to welcome and introduce our speaker tonight. Ashanti Omkar is a broadcaster who presents her radio show on BBC Asian Network. She is also an Indian film and Bollywood expert for BBC West Midlands and BBC London. Ashanti is a member of the London Critics Circle and a long-standing media consultant with the London Indian Film Festival. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Ashanti Omkar.
Thank you, Aga. Welcome, everyone. I know it's a bit early on a Friday evening, but it is a long film. How many of you have actually seen this film already? Lots of fans. You probably know lots more about this film than I do because it's a sort of film where you can write a thesis. There's so much to say, and the history of the film is absolutely amazing. And how amazing is it that the BFI have worked to get this to the big screen? How many of you saw it on the big screen? A few of you. Okay, this is impressive. Very impressive indeed, because this is a restored version. And to have a film like this that is a CinemaScope film and it's in color, and to see this in all its glory on the big screen is very exciting. And I'm sure you'll all enjoy it very much. And of course, there's a lot to say about how this film will tug at your heartstrings in a big way. And I think that for me is one of those things where just as the film starts already, there's a scene that could really destroy. If you haven't seen it before, it could really make you feel destroyed inside because it is just so absolutely tragic. And there are so many bits in this film that I kind of looked at when I was only a teenager. So I grew up in East London and I'd grown up in Nigeria before that. And we moved to East London. Channel 4 showed this film. And it was one of those late night movies. They still show Indian films late night. And I had to put it to record because my parents wouldn't let me stay up to watch it. And I'd first heard about Meena Kumari and all her glory and her greatness from my dad. We'd seen a film called Missiyamma, a Tamil film, because I'm Tamil. And I'd seen that film, even though it came out so long before I was born. My dad had shown that to me. And he'd said, well, this film came out also in Hindi. And there was this amazing legendary actress. So that's how I heard her name. But I didn't get to see that film, Miss Mary, it was called in Hindi. But then to see Pakeezah, it just completely kind of blew my mind. It was thankfully a color television I saw it on, but still very, very small TV. And what can I say? It really did kind of take me, just kind of drew me in a big way. With Meena Kumari, I also discovered later on that she was a child actress. So she grew up, working on a film set. This was all very natural to her. But what I didn't know at the time was that it took 16 years for them to actually get this film onto the big screen. I read up about her marriage to the director. That kind of, again, destroyed me a little bit because Kamel Amrohi and her, they had a long-standing relationship. She was his third wife. And what I discovered later on, I think, in life, because I had gone through a similar situation. I had, been this vibrant young girl, but I'd been married to a man who was violent. And a lot of stories came out, and I'd been reading about them, about how she would turn up on set and people would see her in her dressing room next door to her, and she might have like bruises, for example. And this really, really kind of grabbed me because I thought to myself, this is a woman who still went back and allowed her husband to to make this film and bring it to the big screen, despite what she had gone through with him. And they were separated for a very long time, and we never thought this film would actually get made. So there's a lot to this film that suddenly became more and more personal to me in many ways. And I have to say that that did have me tearing up quite a lot. She did turn up to the premiere of this film, which is wonderful. Meena Kumari got to see it, but she died, very, very sadly. She died very soon after this film came out, and she was only 38 years old. She'd had treatments in London and in Switzerland, and she had been drinking a lot to deal with what her personal life entailed. And doctors told her not to go back to work, but she felt that she had to. And I have to read to you what her tombstone said, because that inspired me so much, because she said, or or she had asked for this to be on her tombstone. She ended her life with a broken fiddle, with a broken song, with a broken heart, but not a single regret. And that for me just gave me so much inspiration and a lot of life, because she did what she set out to do. Her husband had to write, but they separated, but they never got divorced. So he was still her husband when this film was being made. And he actually had to write a letter to her to ask her to come back to this film. And she didn't actually take money for this. She said, I'll take 1 guinea as a token of my goodwill, because I want to put my all into Pakeezah. And there's so many scenes for you to look out for. You might have, since so many of you have already seen it, you've probably seen these scenes. But, the fact that there was a body double who had to come in, and that I don't want to give out any spoilers, but in that song, and there's a GIF online on Twitter that's there as well, because you'll see the beautiful woman dressed in white, and she's twirling, doing those amazing Kathak twirls. And that actually is not Meena Kumari. All the close-up shots for that scene are Meena Kumari, but they had to use a body double for her, which, again, Meena Kumari was so kind of stringent and very diligent with her work. So she trained this young lady, Padma Khanna, to do that for her, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And this whole idea of forbidden love, I think it's something that not everybody experiences in life, but some of us do. And I think that is encapsulated in this film so beautifully. The songs in this film, absolutely stunning pieces of music. For me, I had grown up with one of the voices that only comes in this film for a little bit of time. That was Vani Jairam. She is a Tamilian. She's 74 now. She's still thriving. She's done more than 10,000 songs already. And her song, Mora Sajan, it really tugs at the heartstrings in a big way. And it's in the Raga Pahadi, for those who know any classical music. And of course, Lata Mangeshkar's Chalte Chalte. I mean, it must be a favorite of so many in this room, and that raga, Bhoop Kalyan, Mohana Kalyani as we call it, is absolutely stunning. And of course, there are other beautiful songs, Mohammed Rafi's voice, Lata Mangeshkar coming in there, singing these beautiful songs. It's just absolutely enthralling to see. But what really made me sad was Joseph Wershing, who did the cinematography for this film. He didn't get to see this film because he passed away while it was still in production. So that was really sad for me. And the same goes for the composer, Ghulam Mohammed, because, Noshad Ali came in to kind of fill in the gaps, so to speak, but he didn't get to see that. And Kamel Amrohi, the director, had to actually work really hard and really fight, producers and everyone really hard to actually keep those original songs in this film, because trends had changed by the time, in those 16 years, trends had changed so much in Bollywood, which I thought was a very interesting concept, that this director of this film had to actually hold on and say, I want these songs, they're so beautiful, I want to keep them. Another thing that I was very enthralled with was the fact that there were over 82 minutes of music made for this film, and 42 minutes have been kept in the end product, and the rest of the minutes are on a record. It was an LP at the time. You can find it if you want to hear the other songs, because Meena Kumari herself was also so multifaceted. She wrote poetry. She also was a playback singer. So she sang one song that didn't make it to the final cut. So that's one for you to look out for. And what else can I say? I mean, this film in many ways in 2019 is still a mirror on society in many ways. Being born into a certain profession and having to keep at it, not being able to find your own life and carve out your own life. This is still happening in many parts of the world. And what I did like about this film is that it doesn't preach to you. It actually shows you that, how poignant your life can be, how heartbroken you can be, how hard life can be when you've been oppressed in that way. And I think that is something that, came out, and they'd started making this film. They talked about this film in 1955. So the fact that they were so forward thinking about depicting these subjects, even back in the day, and the fact they brought that is beautiful. Also, another thing to say about the fact that this is in CinemaScope is that for those who watched La La Land, they actually wanted to give an ode to yesteryear films in that format, and that's what we're going to see today, which I think is wonderful. Another thing is that for those who follow modern Bollywood, films like War, and also Mission Mangal and Bharat, they came out in 2019, that joined that elusive 200 crore club, as it's called. So that's films that made over 20 million pounds. This was one of those films because back then it made so much money. If it was made today, it would have hit that 200 crore club, which I think is absolutely wonderful. There's not much more I'm going to say apart from enjoy the film. You might kind of come out crying. I don't know. In some ways, it's one of those films that will keep your mind ticking, and it's so very thought-provoking. Thank you very much. Enjoy.